literally was shut down for a month. Now, bar and restaurant owners were obviously really affected by that. A mandate is nothing more than a recommendation that our governor did, and I was just shocked when I learned that county commissioners have the power in the county to say not in our county. So I guess my question is to the commissioners, if we get into that situation again, are we gonna let business owners have the freedom to keep their businesses open and citizens to have the freedom to be able to go into a business if they want? Especially when the big corporates are being able to stay open? So that's my question.
Good question.
Okay, thank you. The order of response for the county commissioner candidates is Pakula and then Winter. Jeremy?
All right, thank you. That was a great question. Yes, in fact, your county commissioners, and this applies in all 87 counties, do have the power and authority to stand up against unlawful mandates and lockdowns issued by the executive branch of the state. If this situation comes around again, I will make sure that our restaurants and businesses stay open, and that leaving it up to the public to decide, and the private owners of those businesses to decide how to carry out and handle their business safely and appropriately. I do not believe anywhere in those mandates, none of those mandates fall under constitutional law whatsoever. So, in my opinion, that was complete government overreach, and I will stand behind our business owners and the general public and leave the freedom upon them to decide how to go through that situation if we ever go through it again. Thanks.
All right, that's a great question. As most people know, as my stand was keep the small businesses open. I was hoping that we could do something as far as like the big box stores. I always push keep businesses locally and serve our small businesses. What happened here through the pandemic, our courthouse, and we all 5 West County commissioners, so we don't have the power to do a lot of things, but we kept we're the only county probably in, I don't know how many counties that kept our courthouse open. We kept the DMV, we fought all these things here because the fact that people need to get their licensing, and so yes, you did have to, maybe wear a mask or whatever, but what happens is when you say we don't have the mandates, the federal government and the state government are a lot more powerful than we are as county commissioners, school board, whatever. Most people remember the bar in Albany. He tried fighting it. What did they do? They threatened to pull his license. They threatened to do this. So you have a hard time having overreach and making a business do something. We wanted all businesses to be open, but what happens is if you're a business owner and they tell you, you know what, you go right ahead and let the county decide what to do. They can cut us off. They can cut us off for funding, for social services, for health, for the sheriff's department. So again, that is something that you have to, when you get into government, small government, you have to weigh those things as far as a county commissioner goes. So you just can't say, yep, stay open. It just does not work that way. There's a big learning process. So thank you.
Steve, you have a question? I believe it's your turn. Who are you directing the questions to, please?
This one is to probably everybody at the state level. It's a tax policy question.
Okay, everybody.
That would be Nathan, Suzanne, and Isaac.
Very good.
I did have one question for Lucas, who had offered to share his address and stuff with us. Lucas, can I get your social security number? I'm kidding, you can give it to me after.
Okay, go ahead.
Tax policy question is about what I've heard, a couple things on stage right now. Isaac, you said that the state is near unaffordable, the taxes in the state, and Nathan called them not good. And so my question then is, both of your websites talk about the need to reduce taxes, which means a reduction in revenue for the state. So in the state of Minnesota, we know that our students have the second highest math test scores in the nation. We have the highest scores everywhere. Healthcare is top. We know that these services cost money. So my question is, if you're in favor of lowering taxes, what services do you want to cut or pare back?
Thank you. Isaac Schultz, House District 10B. Let's make Minnesota more affordable. That's the goal.
Let's wait a second till I announce the order. You are gonna be first, but I'm losing control. But we're doing okay, we're having it, so Isaac will be first. And let me see, Suzanne Zakala will be second, Nathan Weisenberg third. So we understand the question. He didn't grab the microphone, but I think he was loud enough.
Here's my teacher voice.
Very good, very good. Everybody heard the question, ready to go? Okay, now Isaac, 90 seconds.
Thank you. I'm an auctioneer. I have a tendency to move a little bit quickly and help us get out of here on time. Minnesotans are taxed too much. There's no reason why our state should be in a place where we're in the top 5 highest tax states in the nation. We have incredible natural resources, incredible people, some of the best workforce that exists in the world, not just the nation, but the world. And we are overtaxed. The government is not treating us well. So our candidate for governor, Scott Jensen, has proposed completely eliminating income taxes in Minnesota. Why should it be more affordable to live in North Dakota, South Dakota, or Wisconsin, where they don't have it, don't have the income tax, where we in Minnesota are in the top 5 in the nation? Let's push for that. That's an aspirational goal for us. But let's talk about making Minnesota more affordable. This is what's interesting. Minnesota currently has a $10 billion budget surplus. That's your money. It's not any person up here. A $10 billion budget surplus. Do you know how much it would cost for us to completely eliminate income taxes in Minnesota? $15 billion. And when you take a look at the waste, fraud, and abuse that Governor Tim Walz and his administration have allowed to happen over the last several years, we absolutely can get to a point where we eliminate the income tax in Minnesota. It's where we should go. It will take us time to get there, but I'm here to say that I will be a part of the solution to help get us there. Educating members of the legislature and the people of Minnesota about what we can do to make Minnesota more affordable. Thank you.
Suzanne Sakala, Senate. I don't know what I would cut out, but I would like to see a relief for the tax on Social Security. And a lot of people have talked about that, and we don't see that. And I agree with the surplus. We have this massive surplus. And last year in the legislation, there was a gridlock over that surplus and how to spend it. We were looking, it was looking like we were going to get a $1,000 check back, and that didn't happen. It was looking like there was going to be a $400 million tax cut for all of us in the state of Minnesota. That didn't happen because of the gridlock. So I think there's a lot of things that can change, that we do need to work on taxation. We do need to work on taxes for Social Security, because a lot of people move on to Minnesota because of that. And I think we can do better. I think we do need to take a look at that. And we should not be that high, number 5. But if that's at a cost for our education and our health care and everything else, then I think we need to do all of it in moderation and look at how it's going to affect all the people, not just some of the people. And I hope that if I'm elected, we can get that surplus out to the people, and we can look at the 4 million tax cuts and maybe even more, so that we can eliminate that plus the Social Security. Thank you.
So we can work across the aisle. I think we should stop taxing Social Security also. You need to keep that money. So, I used to work for the government, and worked for the DNR, and seeing some of the wasteful spending that happened. I'll talk about that apartment, but there's all apartments where we can cut spending there and still fund things like healthcare and education. We obviously need to make sure our kids have a good education. But when, look at the $250 million fraud that Walls knew about, and what happened, he didn't do anything about it. That's money wasted that could have went somewhere else, yet it was stolen from taxpayers. $100 million in 2019. Looking at, I'll talk about some things and how the state spends money. You have to create budgets, and if you don't spend your money at the end of the year, you don't get it again next year. So rather than saying, let's spend that money, they're forced to spend the money to get it next year, so they just spend it. So then it increases our taxes, because if we don't reach our $100,000 mark, we only spend $75,000, we only need $75,000 next year. Why don't we roll that 25 over somehow? I don't have that solution, but that's something we need to talk about. So that's wasteful spending. We need to stop doing that. When I worked at the DNR, things that I would see there, we buy waiters that would sit in the garage for 10 years, and then they would fall apart, and we throw them away. That's wasteful spending, you know. So there are things like this that we can get rid of, and we have an auditor, Brian Wilson, who will do these things, and we will cut the wasteful spending, but we will spend money where we need to spend it. But there is wasteful spending that happens. It's not a joke. It's not just pretend. I'm done. Thank you.
This will be directed towards the school board members.
Mike,
You do.
I'll ask this question to Randy, and the rest of the members can respond. How do you feel what's the state of the school district currently, financially and education-wise? And what do the prospective board members want to see for a vision for the future?
The order, I gotta find this one now, I haven't used this one for a while. The order of response is Hackett, Nelson, Boyd, Trout. Randy?
Okay, thanks for the question. The state of the school. The last couple of years with COVID was really tough. It was tough on the kids, it was tough on the staff, tough on administration, tough on the school board, tough on the parents. Coming out of COVID, I urged in our board meetings for us all to realize that we have more in common with each other than we have against each other. That goes across every line that we have in the school. I think the leadership that has come from the school board has filtered through. We have a very good relationship with the administration, with the teachers, with the kids. You go and talk to anybody that comes in this building, they're just amazed at how clean it is. The kids are just, they're proud to be from Royalton. And I'm proud to be part of that. As far as finance goes, COVID did something for Royalton that Royalton doesn't get a lot of. We got some special funding. I don't know what the ranking is right now, but I think there's 153 school districts in Minnesota, 163. Royalton sits at 147 right now. That's per pupil funding, adjusted on APU. That's really close to the bottom. We're one of the only schools in this area that's running without an operating referendum, other than the board-approved referendums. The board-approved referendums are compensated, average of $2 to $1 are coming from the state. They're a good thing for our community because we don't get the funding that a lot of other school districts get. So we're very, very good financially right now within the district, and better than that is we're very good with our staff and our people and our kids. Thank you.
Next is Matt Nelson.
I'm not even gonna pretend to or say that I do understand what the state is. As far as the specifics, the finances, I'm new to this. I would have to yield to Randy. He has the experience. He's going back for more. I mean, he's going to know more than I do. I'd be interested to find out. the only resources I have are my kids, and, you know, when I look around and I see, my kids are happy, and, they don't go without most of the time. It's, seems like a pretty good environment. I'd like to maintain that, and anything that we can improve on, I want to be a part of that. So specifically, I wouldn't even want to lie to you and say, oh, it's turning, you know, it's utilizing all of its funds properly, or it's not. It's not for me to even try and pretend to know that information. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Lucas Boyd.
Thank you, Jim, for that question. I've been waiting for a school board question. I think your question to us was, what's the vision for the school district moving forward? Like I said, I like what Royalton School District is doing now for the most part. I think some of you, or most of you, see my signs out. On the bottom of my sign it says common sense education for our children. Okay? Like we're talking reading, writing, arithmetic, that stuff comes first, no matter what. Kids need to know that stuff. The other stuff is add-on stuff. Okay? I want to get the teachers the stuff they need to do that. If it's books, if it's the computers, whatever the teachers need to do that job, I want to make sure they have it moving forward. As far as the financial part of it, I don't know all the specific numbers like Randy was just talking, because I don't see those numbers. But he says we're doing really well financially. I like the people that do the work to get paid. Okay, so that means teachers need to get paid a fair wage. That being said, the people below the teachers, the custodians, like I said, the information that I get, like Matt said, the information I get comes from my kids. It's my understanding that custodians, you can make more money working at McDonald's. I'm sorry, that's wrong. Okay, look how clean the school is. Randy just said that. It's because what the custodians do. Okay. As far as paras, these are the people in the school that are in the trenches all day long, the paras, okay? There again, they can make more money at McDonald's. I'm not okay with that. So my future moving forward is pay the people that do the work and keep Royalton, okay? Let's keep schoolwork in school, social issues outside of school, okay? Our kids go to school to learn, not deal with social issues. Thank you.
Kate, are you in trouble?
I like what Lucas had to say, and I agree with all of those things. I don't have numbers. First of all, it's not my strong suit. I have an artistic brain, so I have to work extra hard on the logic side. But I've attended school board meetings faithfully for over a year now as a parent that's interested. And when we had a financial person working here, then they would explain a little bit, some of it would be over my head, but a lot of it raised questions for myself that I would like to understand more on where we're spending some of this money and what does it mean. And now that we don't have that finance person, we outsource to a different company, and when we sit at a board meeting, they give a very summarized, brief information of the financials monthly, and they don't break it down to where the money's going. So I have a lot of questions, and I'd like to learn more in depth on where the funding is actually being spent, because I have questions as a parent. For instance, when we get COVID money, this ESSER fund with hundreds of thousands of dollars towards technology, why did Royalton School have to enforce a $25 mandatory Chromebook insurance? Why isn't that not an optional payment for families? Because they say that the technology expenses are beyond what they had estimated, so they had to enforce this as a mandatory. Like, I would like to have answers, black and white answers and numbers as to what these things are, and why we have to make these changes, and why the expenses keep rolling down onto the parents' lap. And I'm all for empowering the classrooms and giving the teachers everything that they need to fulfill their role, and I am 100% behind that. I agree with the paras, the janitors, that everybody needs to be paid what they deserve because they're doing hard work. but I just do have some questions on administration levels on where the money is going, and I'm looking forward to learning that.
Okay, the next question was right up, yes, you. And we're a long ways from the end, but we are not taking any questions after 9:30. Hopefully we'll be done before that, so who are you directing your question to?
I'm hoping all of them feel it's important enough to answer.
Did you say everybody?
Yep.
Okay.
First off, I want everyone to know I am not from Royalton, but I have a big concern. The federal government came down with a proposal of letting boys and girls sports, girls and boys sports, and their funding would be pulled. I have a daughter that's a senior. She came home to me, said, well, it happened. Went in the bathroom, it wasn't a girl. I sat there and looked at him, he looked at me, and then I went and I apologized for being crude. And I sat there in the stall until he left so I could go. I have videos where boys playing in the gym, when the kids are divided, he plays with girls. We got a girl in boys hockey. We got girl hockey. Yep, we do. And we have a boy in middle school playing volleyball. What are you gonna do?
That is directed to everybody on the stage. We'll start the opposite way this time, so Maria, you'll come first and go down this way, and end with me, Nathan. Go ahead.
All right, Maria Trout, School Board. I guess you would have to say that it boils down to my morality as a traditionalist, and I think that boys are boys and girls are girls, and it's kind of cut and dry in my world. And I know that there's nuances out there, and I support and love people right where they're at, but for me, it's a safety concern. And that's the bottom line. So, I do not want my 9-year-old girl being victimized when she has to go to the bathroom. Exactly. So, that's it. It's pretty black and white. It's a pretty short answer.
Thank you.
Okay, again, state who you are and what you're running, what office you're running for. Thank you.
Isaac Schultz, House District 10B. I believe that boys are boys and girls are girls as well. And it's important that we are able to make the change necessary to help see this out at the state level. And so the biggest and best way that we can do it is by electing Scott Jensen as our next governor. And so I encourage all of you here in this room to ensure that we elect him. And I'm going to take this moment of time to tell you how in the district that I'm seeking to represent, there are 5,000 people who voted for Donald Trump in 2020 that didn't vote for Scott Jensen in 2018. Those 5,000 people are our friends and neighbors, and I need your help to go find them and get them to the polls, because that's the way that we change this through the Department of Education here in Minnesota. I'm certainly going to be on the front lines of that in St. Paul as our state representative, but I want you to understand that the real change can only happen in Minnesota when we change course at the top and fire Tim Walz.
Yes.
Pretty much agree with Isaac, what everything he has to say, but the thing is, that's where we're elected school board here. Those are the ones that you have to really reach out to. If there's something that's going on in your school, tell them. Those are the ones that we're putting into office to, as a school board, to prevent things like this. Again, everybody has their own way of presenting themselves, but again, boys are boys, girls are girls, and that's how I really feel. And I say, especially when you have grandchildren, I do not want my granddaughter, I would just go ballistic. So that's just kind of the cut and dry of it, so thank you.
Matt Nelson, School Board. I don't know when it happened that we started pandering to the select few over the mass. I'm also not, I would fit best in the category of boys are boys and girls are girls. The idea that we have to be concerned about one kids' mental health when it jeopardizes the mental health of everybody else who then the accommodation is affecting is very odd to me, and it seems to be the way of the future, and I don't understand it. I would like to keep some separation the way that we've done it in the past for so long. I guess I'm just confused with the whole thing, and I'd be interested to hear a rational argument for this whole gender identity crisis that we have right now. Because I sure don't understand it at all. But until that happens, I'm going to be pretty firm that I think we can keep the boys in the boys' room and the girls in the girls' room. Like, that was a big thing for me growing up. Because you had boys over for your birthday parties, not girls, and there were obvious reasons for that. So I don't really have anything more to say. I think I agree a lot with you again, because we always feel in the same boat. But yeah, it would be nice to see a few more of the classic traditions just stay.
I don't know when that happened either. And I have to say, I'm really sorry that your daughter has experienced that, because I know it must have been very traumatic for her. I don't know how to solve all of those social issues, and I agree that I don't know how for one person's mental health we change everything, and I don't know what the policy is where your school is at, and maybe you didn't say where your school was, but for your school where your children are, I don't know what the policy is, but I do know that the school board people who are here are pretty adamant about what is boys and what is girls. Now, I am not familiar with any of the hockey students or the players, and I do know we have to keep that straight for people for a lot of reasons. And I think that's one of the reasons why they've been suggesting that we have restrooms that individuals can go into if you don't identify with it. So that would solve the issue for encouraging people to go into different restroom, male or female. They would have a unisex one that would just be open. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that we cannot change everything for the entire world quickly. Our world is changing whether we like it or not, and we do need to make some stands on things, and we need to look at the whole group of people, and that's the reason why we're electing the people we are on the school board, because Randy Hackett and all these other people have a really good handle on what they're doing. I would only hope that if there is a child who identifies differently than male or female, that they would have enough of the resources necessary to support them in their school time and their
Lucas Boyd, Royalton School Board. I'll start off by saying boys are boys and girls are girls, okay? And I want to take religion and science into this both, okay? Because I've brought this argument up with people and they say, well, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that Jesus made man and Jesus made woman, okay? They told me that. I don't believe in religion. God, what do you believe in? They believe in science. Perfect. I love it. I believe in science and I believe in God. And I'm sorry, if you're born a girl and born a boy, that's what you are. God decided that, and science, by the way, decided that. You don't decide that. Biology is biology, okay? You're not going to change that. You can change the appearance, I get it. But if you take your DNA and check the DNA after you've cut whatever you want to cut off and put on a wig and do whatever you're going to do, your DNA is still the same. And this is one reason that I want to keep social issues outside of school, okay? You come to school as a little girl or a little boy, and you do what you do in school, and the social issues are up to the parents and what you do at home. We do not need to bring it into the school, okay? How many years have we had boys' rooms and girls' rooms? Why are we changing that for 3 or 4 people that come into school because they decide they want to be a girl? Okay, if they decide tomorrow they want to be a unicorn, unicorn or we're gonna have a unicorn bathroom. I'm just asking, because we're talking science, and we're talking God. And if you go against either one, it's not good. And if you go against both, I'm sorry, I don't want to see the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy Pakula, Morrison County Commissioner. Now, I believe this is more of a school board and superintendent issue where they have the ability to dictate what is being taught in school and how. To me, it's not boy's a boy, girl's a girl. I can't really argue against anything that Lucas said. That was great, because that is the truth. And the problem that, in my opinion, is that the culture, the entire culture, has started to shift to cause confusion. We have had a breakdown in our homes. We have a lot of single families. We have a lot of, single parents. And we've lost the family nucleus that we all kind of grew up with. I'm not that old, but we've lost that foundation that was intended for us and this country. So, thank you.
Randy headed the school board. So, when you become a member of the school board or any other board that you might be running for, or representative, you have to stop and say, am I going to vote my voice, or am I going to vote my constituents' voice? Now, my constituents' voice ain't always my voice. Personally, I know what a boy is and I know what a girl is. But when you sit on the board and you are responsible for the financial dealings of something, you have to first ask is, what am I legally able to do? Because this is no different than the masking issue. Every one of you people out there that didn't like to wear a mask, I didn't like to wear one either. But I got sick and had to go to the doctor and they made me put one on and I put it on. Everybody else did too that got sick. You didn't get care unless you did. Did I like it? No. That was the rule. I listen to these things all the time and everybody says, that's a great question. I'm sorry, but it's a stupid question for a school board. There is no school board that is going to be able to stop any of this. This is bigger issues. There's courts that have deemed that these people have rights. And we have to legally abide by them. Just like we had to legally abide by the masking rule. I would have loved to say, no, we don't have the mask. But was somebody going to come out and feed my chickens, feed my steers when I'm in jail? Because as a school board member, I got put in jail. I don't think you guys are willing to go that far. You can go and you can go uptown and you can talk like that. But when it comes down to it, you have to do what's legally right. And you're bound by them rules. Thank you.
I actually called the police on somebody who tried to make me wear a mask in their establishment, and I can't wear a mask, so you can fight back, and I won. So if things are wrong, you need to stand up for what's right. I'll start there. Not about boys and girls and girls sports. Boys are physically stronger, that's how you're born. If it makes you feel bad, I'm sorry. That's the truth. We can't have boys competing against girls. Now, girls will be beat by boys because boys are stronger. That's not fair to girls in sports. That's just the way it is. We have women's rights and also going backwards. So if these boys think they're girls, I'm sorry, you're not a girl. It's just, there's boys and there's girls. So getting to your question here, so actually, I've built trust with people in my community. They come to me with concerns. So I had this conversation with our superintendent last week in Little Falls. And I said, why are boys being allowed to go in the girls' bathroom? And he doesn't think that's appropriate, so that's what he told me. And the situation needs to be looked into. I'm telling you what I know from him. We can't be allowing boys to pee in girls' bathrooms. So this boy now feels happy, but all the girls feel weird and disgusted and what's gonna happen. It's not okay. So one person has an issue, we need to help these kids, not just say, yep, you could be a girl. No, we need to help kids, we need to talk to them and see what's going on. If something happened to them at some time in their lives that made them leave this, let's talk about it and not just say, yeah, you can be, like he said, a unicorn or a helicopter or a rabbit or whatever that's wrong. You know, there's social issues and this is, it's disgusting. So we need to fix it. It's up to adults and teachers to see this and figure out what's going on. Now, I know there's funding and whatever, but if I'm gonna give you funding because you have to have trans students, well, maybe we shouldn't be getting that funding and say, no, we're not taking it, we'll have to figure it out, but we gotta stand up and say, stop, this is ridiculous, it's just stupid.
We'll get to you. You'll be next and you'll be after that, so we have two more questions for sure. I just want to make a comment about a group that were invited to this that are kind of mysteriously not here this evening. And that's the mayor candidate from Royalton and the 4 city council candidates. I don't really know why they're not here. I hear all kinds of rumors. Rumors smell, they do smell, but they spread in a small town quite readily, so I really don't know. I wish they would be here, because I don't know who I'm gonna vote for mayor and city council. So they were invited, they're not here, they may have legitimate reasons, I'm not sure what those reasons are. So, we're right back there is our next question. Yes, you. And whom are you asking the question to?
I'm asking this for the school board members.
Okay.
Okay, I know that here that they have an LGBTQ group because people are feeling bad about themselves and we're getting bullied, but I also feel there should be a group for other people that are getting bullied, if they're fat or if they go to church or whatever reason. They only have one support group here. And they do not tell the parents that the kids are in the group. So if the kids parents come to school to find their child, they don't know where their child's at. And if their child is in a group of this nature, the parents have the right to know, since the parents are the first educator. So, what would you do as a school board member to let the parents have their right to know where their children are at? And to find out if you need another group to help children that are not part of the alphabet soup, I guess. You know, that's only like less than 1% of the population. And they're using it that they can have special needs.
Okay, get on with the question.
So the question was, what can you do to help other children that don't have these issues? And why would you allow something like this and not tell the parents that where the children are at?
Do the school board candidates understand that question? You do? Okay. Okay, you guys down here? Okay, the order of response for the school board is, let's see, Nelson, Hackett, Boyd, and Trout.
I'd probably hire a vigilante service. But, I'm kind of in favor of, support groups. You know, as long as they're not necessarily funded by the school itself, it's like a prayer group. You know, if I'm gonna allow a prayer group to be able to meet before school for prayer, I think that should be allowed. If there's going to be an LGBTQ, group, I think that should be allowed too. So long as it's more of a volunteer thing and not something that's, governed by the school. So I guess I would support just about any group that wanted to do that, you know, within maybe limited exception. To your point about not letting the parents know, I think that's a really, really good question. And as a parent, I certainly would want to know if my kids were involved. I'd also like to know if they're going to get birth control I don't know what would be within my capability of ensuring that the parents are aware of their kids being involved in a group like that. I guess I literally have no idea what would be within my capabilities, but definitely full transparency I think would be really important. I mean, I just as much as the LGBTQ group having influence over my kid, I would also want to know if they were in a prayer group, you know, I mean, maybe for different reasons, but I guess that kind of sums up how I feel about it.
So, I'm gonna default on this one because I didn't know that we didn't tell parents. I don't know if that's the truth or not. This is a lot like everything else. The school board powers in the policy. We make policy, we expect it to be followed, we make sure it's followed. A lot of this stuff, this really politically charged stuff, it just takes on a life of its own. Everybody's heard a story that Little Falls has litter boxes in their bathrooms. There's not a bathroom in the state of Minnesota that has a litter box in it, but I've heard it from every person I know over 60 that they all do. And it's really good eye candy for somebody in clickbait, but it's not happening. We just have to stop and ask ourselves, does this even sound right? And if it does, then you need to bring it to the school board so we can check up on it. Support groups, I mean, I don't have your name, but if you want to start a support group at school, you can volunteer, and I mean, that's what it takes. It takes parents to volunteer, grandparents to volunteer to come into the school to help. You can't expect a bunch of 10th grade kids to start their own support group without some kind of mentorship. I think it's just hot button issues, and let's face it, if you're in this room tonight, you like hot button issues, and that's just the way I see it.
So I believe I talked about this a little bit earlier, where I want to keep social issues outside of school, okay? And I understand that's tough. When I've been out talking to people in the community, this LGBTQ thing has been brought up to me. But I've also had people tell me, well, if we get rid of that support group, we have to get rid of every support group. And I would say yes. And that's why I'm more in favor of social issues being outside of school. I was born and raised Catholic, strong Catholic beliefs, but I also believe that the Catholic religion can be taught in the Catholic Church. Like I said, it's a public school. We teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. Social issues, please stay out, in my opinion, because this is what it causes. It causes issues from both sides, no matter what side you're on. As far as support groups go, I do know that kids need some support certain issues. And the reason I would say keep them out, because I did read an article where they did bring a satanic group into a school down south. And at what point do you draw the line? The satanic group thinks it's great. Let's bring the satanic group in. They've got a religious group in there. Do you draw the line at satanic groups, or do you draw the line at LGBTQ groups, or do you draw the line at social issues staying outside of school? I think it causes a lot of issues, not only with the parents, but with the children, because children get picked on because of these social issues. I don't want that. I hate bullying, okay? That is my number one thing that I hate. And so moving forward, I guess, it's a tough subject, and that's why I say, let's keep it out. Let's teach the kids religion in church. We have plenty of people that are willing to do that. Let's teach social issues at home, or if it's with their doctor or whatever. But I think keep school in school and social issues outside of school. Thank you.
That was great. Maria Trout, School Board. I do think it's a complex issue, and I would like to, first of all, verify and learn for myself firsthand as a school board member, if the parents are invited to know. I do think that it's an important, step that needs to be put in place then, that either by permission slip or something of that nature, if this is gonna take place, if a support group of this nature is gonna take place during school hours, that parents need to be, aware of it in some way, shape, or form. I agree with some of the things that have been said about, yes, it's a hot topic, and also social issues. How much do we want to, pass off to the school to parent our children for us? I personally don't. So the social issues become controversial because there are parents who don't care. There are children who are floundering. And if a child from the LGBTQ community committed suicide, that would be horrifying because they were undergoing some sort of intolerable bullying inside this building. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night over that either. So this is a complex issue that I don't have a black and white answer on. Parents must be involved. I've brainstormed several possible avenues, like a professional, maybe, but then we're getting into the segregated line of how much social issues do we want the school responsible for. Like, if we're gonna tackle these things and we're gonna support these children to the degree that they need it, let's make it for the whole family then, support. But then do we want the school responsible for that? I don't have a black and white answer for that, but parents do need to be informed on everything that's happening to their children inside this school district and every school district. And they need to be in agreement and allow it. There's not gonna be any crossover where I'm gonna delegate my parenting responsibilities to the school district in any way, shape, or form. So I wanna be collaborating and in agreement.
In back there. And who are you asking your question to?
School board.
School board, okay.
What's your one goal as a school board member to improve the school district?
The order of response will be Trout, Boyd, Nelson, Hackett.
Maria Trout School Board. My one goal, it's a good question. I should know that by now, probably. I suspect that whatever goal I think I've set for myself and will change when I am put into a position where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. I would like to see schools be simplified. I would like to see the education process be simplified. I feel like it's become so difficult that our children are losing the ability to read and write and learn arithmetic. And that's the foundation. We need to get back to that foundation. And that's my goal, is to make sure that those areas are fully funded, fully empowered, and that's our strength in Royalton.
So my number one goal is to get the teachers what they need to teach these kids the way that they need to be taught. I've been told by other teachers that they don't have everything that they need. And I've been told by teachers that these things right here are a huge issue. Okay? Cell phones and computers. Not only the computers that the school gives them, but the cell phones that they carry in their pocket. Not only are they using to cheat, I think I said before that I absolutely hate bullying. This right here is what these kids do to bully nowadays. Yep. Okay? Social networking. My number one goal is to get social networking out of the school. If that means lock your cell phone up when you walk in the door, I'm okay with that. Because I think they just said we're good financially. If we can buy enough lockers for everybody, so you put your phone away when you come in school, perfect. Okay? The mental health issues are through the roof right now with teenage kids. They get bullied every day because they want to look like the Kardashian sisters or whatever it is. They take a picture of themselves, or somebody takes a picture of themselves all over the school. That's not okay. And I've been told by a teacher that there's a better program that the school can use so that they can monitor the systems that they have, so that the devices that they get from the school, that they can monitor them. But she was told that that was too expensive. It costs too much money to get that system. If we're financially well, I think that's a huge issue, okay? These kids need to learn how to write on paper, not just on a computer, okay? So my number one goal is remove these from the school and give the teachers what they need to monitor those kids when they're on the computers that they have in the classroom. That's my number one goal.
At Nelson School Board. I don't have a goal, I'm gonna be honest, because of all the things I know about being on the board, it's the things that I don't know are probably gonna be the things that I have to face. So, I'm kind of leaving myself open at this point, and I'm kind of, I guess, wing it. But I know it sounds ridiculous, it really does, but I don't want to be held down to just one thing. I guess if I had to pick something, it would be getting more people in the community involved, because our school board, our faculty, our school in general is a mirror image of everything that's in our community. It's, if it was garbage in, it's garbage out. We represent the mass of people that are in this area, and the fact that there are so many people that are not helping, and they're relying on the school system to do the parenting, like Maria was saying, you know, we really need to make sure that parents are doing their own responsibilities. The schools, you know, has its own responsibilities. So I would say, if I have to pick something, which I don't want to, it would have to be getting more people involved, trying to get more people to donate their time and help, and understand that it is not the faculty or the board's responsibility to raise your kids, it's to give them a proper education. So help us out. That's it.
This is going to be real easy for me. Personally, my goal, dyslexia screening and everybody reading at grade level by grade 3. That's why I got on the board. There's a lot of things that come at you other than that, but at the bottom line, that's still what I'm working for.
I'm addressing them to the school board.
School board, okay.
I heard about the LGBTQ class that meets in Royalton School. I was curious about it, and I asked a few parents, and they told me that they didn't think that was really a good idea, and nobody seemed to be curious enough to talk to the principal. I called the principal and talked to him, because I was just curious. I asked if I could come and sit in on the class. Absolutely not, it wasn't allowed. I also asked him, do your parents know that these children are in this? And he says, no, the parents are part of the problem. And I would like to know how the school board feels about that.
School board understand the question? What's down here? Okay, the order of response is Nelson, Hackett, Trout, Boyd. So go ahead, Mr. Nelson.
Nelson for school board. This is kind of an extension of what we talked about before, and I still stand pretty firm that transparency is important. It's hard because, like Randy brought up, you are within the means of whatever you're legally able to do, and I don't know if there's some sort of HIPAA rule or something that applies in this situation, so I'd have to know more about that. starts with the community before the school system even. We have to get people involved. I honestly think if more parents were involved with the school system, putting in their 2 cents and speaking with the school board, maybe we would have more parents that are doing more at the house to help their kids and recognize the signs that are warranting a kid who needs help from somewhere but feels afraid to their parent. You know, I wonder if that starts with the parent and the lack of knowledge or want of knowledge. So I don't know what would be within my means, honestly. I would like to see parents know when their kid is suffering or when their kid is struggling with sexual identity or gender identity or something like that. I would hope that as a parent, some of those red flags would trigger something at home. I guess I can't give you an answer. I don't know what would be within our means, but I would certainly hope that parents, you know, I would, rather than relying on the school board to change it, talk to your parents out there and see if you know. That's all my part.
So, when you phrase the question, every one of us sees the question different, because we're all envisioning our own manifestation of what that family looks like that you're thinking of. We're all assuming probably that there's a loving family or something, and there may not be. You have to at least be big enough in yourself to admit that there might be a situation where it's not good for the parents to know. And as far as that, I don't think that's a school board question. That's the people who have educations in how to deal with kids. I'm a farmer. That question's way out of my league. But I'll ask the experts that we hire at this school that I think do a good job. When they come up with an answer, until I can prove it's wrong, that's the one I'm going to go with.
Maria Charles, School Board. I respect the answers that were already given, but the question was, how does the school board feel about hearing an administrative person say the parents are the problem? Well, I would disagree with that. I think the parents are the solution, and I think collaboration is the answer. And so we need to bridge this gap. The gap's been growing for a long time. We need to close it. So that's what I would like to see, like referencing to what Matt had to say. Community. How do we get the community involved? How do we get the parents involved? How do we close that gap? But I also then understand where Randy's coming from, that not all parents are going to be what I envision that they are, bringing to the table. But the lack of involvement is catastrophic, and that needs to turn around. So I can understand where you would hear a statement from the administration here out of frustration. And so that responsibility rolls downhill and falls on all the parents that live in this community, the grandparents that are retired and may have free time to volunteer or be more invested. It takes a village. I'd like to see that village rise up, because they're here on a Friday night for a football game. They could be here from 8 to 3 in various forms, and we could support these kids in a full-faceted way.
Okay, so I did understand the question, and I think that the school board should be involved in this. One thing I would like definition on is, what is a support group? And if the support group is being put on by the school and by somebody that's not a social worker, and it's a support group by either a parent or by another teacher, any support group that is in the school, I believe, yes, you should have a permission slip from the parent, okay? I understand that maybe not all parents are the best parents, but they are the parent of that child. They have the legal right over that child, okay? If that parent, even though administration doesn't think that parent is a good parent, that parent can come in and take that kid out of the school and take that kid home, okay? Because that is their parent. They legally have that right. And I believe that if there is a support group in the school, that the parents need to know, and there needs to be a permission slip sent home. I don't care if your kids are in volleyball, I don't care if your kids are in speech, I don't care if your kids are in the LGBTQ group, okay? If they're in that group, there needs to be a permission slip sent home so they can do it, okay? End of story. If it's happening in the school, your parents, who are legally over you, should have that right to know exactly what their kids are doing in a public school. Thank you.
Yes, Vicki, who are you? Grab the microphone, please. And who are you addressing your question to?
Who's running for our state senator?
State Senate candidate.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we can all agree our politics today are so divided. We have the far left and the far right. And I'm looking for a moderate senator to lead us. And I'm wondering how you are going to work across the aisle, because nothing will get done if you're going to be on your far right or far left. So please answer that.
Okay, thank you. The order of response is Weisenberg, Sakala. Nathan?
Yeah, we do need to work with everybody when we're in the Capitol. You know, if it's gonna come to like what I was talking about with abortion, that's not gonna happen. Not gonna allow that to happen. Taxes, we're already talking about ending social security tax. You know, we're working together on that to get rid of it. There are issues with school we could talk to each other about. We might have something like gun issues. Second Amendment is protected by the Constitution. Criminals do not obey the law. So by not allowing people to have guns that are not criminals, they can't defend themselves. It's your right. So there might be issues I'm strong for, and I'm gonna stand on that, but I don't know every issue that's gonna come up, but we do need to work together. But if we get down there and it's all the same, whatever, it's not gonna happen. But I've already been doing that in my community and trying to bring people together and communicate with people. People bring me issues and I go talk to people, I reach out to people. Even people I might not agree with, I go talk to them. We need to work on a solution. But solutions don't happen like that either. But we need to work together. Thank you.
Suzanne for Senate. Collaboration has to happen because we've seen what happens with the gridlock. The money just keeps getting more and more with the surplus because we couldn't agree, because it couldn't happen. So many of the laws were bunched together, so a lot of laws didn't get put into place. A lot of rulings didn't get put into place. I believe that's one of the reasons why I decided that I needed to put my name on the line and run for office. We can't have way to one side and way to the other. We have to have people who can work together. And I am a moderate. I am not to the left. I am not red and I'm not blue. I am purple. I am in the middle. And I think that's an important thing. And working as a pastor and a chaplain, as a nurse, you are always in that position where you need to work with people to have a mutual agreement. Now, like a lot of other people, I have things, just like everyone else does, that are difficult to work with, whether it's guns or abortion, and I know that a lot of you are very concerned about those things. There are a lot of things that we have to figure out how to work together for the betterment of the common good, and that's what I hope I will be able to do when I'm in the Senate.
Oh, I've got all kinds of questions, but we don't have time. We have one more question, and the person in the back there is the first one that answered. No, I'm past that stage already, so you need, yes, you're the one, you need the microphone, and who are you addressing your?
My question is for the county commissioners,
Okay, very good. Grab the microphone, please, so we can hear it. And I'll have to make up the order, because this is another new one to us, but then we will do a little closing remarks and talk a little bit about.
This on?
It is. Oh, yeah.
All right, been watching the political ads on TV, and Steve Simon.
You want to repeat again? I lost, who's it for? The county commissioners and?
Commissioners, the House and the Senate candidates.
Very good, so those 5. Okay, thank you.
So watching all the ads on TV and everything, Steve Simon comes out and says that Minnesota has the most secure election pretty much in the world. It's so secure that, from what I understand, he won't let Crow Wing County do an audit of their 2020 election. So my question is that as a county commissioner, as a member of the House, a member of the Senate, what would you do to support your precincts or your counties on if they request an audit of their elections or voter ID laws? What would you do to support that?
Thank you. Thank you. The order of response, and this will be our final question.
Great, final question.
Sometimes the candidates like to stay and talk a little bit, if you'd like to do that afterwards, or if you have a specific question you want to ask them. But this is the order of response for the last question. It will be Wincher, Pakula, Sakala, Wiesenberg, Schultz. So, Randy Wincher.
Thank you. How much time do we have? 3 minutes? So I would support a voter ID. That's a key issue that I believe everybody should have voter ID when they come to vote. I'm also support of the judges that we use, whether it's in a township, the city. Those are the ones that we have to put our faith in, and that they do everything correctly. As far as Morrison County, we probably have one of the best voting staff in the state of Minnesota. I can always count on them 110% that everything is run correctly in our county. What I can do as far as, you know, the state and the national, that's another issue that's over, you know, the state senate and the Congress. Those are the ones that have anything there. As far as I'm going here to secure. These are things, because most of our elections, there's someone from the right to the left to build the counties. As far as bailing I'm all for that. I have a vote, my 95-year-old mother, she's voting by mail. And I'm not gonna take that away from her, because if she wants to vote, I challenge anybody that if they're handicapped or whatever, you just, those are things that you cannot do. You need this voting. So once it gets to our county, it's secured. But what happens after that, it's out of my hands. And I say that it's a question that's been going on for many years. We've had many elected officials disagree with the elections. Not just the past 2 years, not just past 4 or 8 years. It's been going on for eternity. Some people, if you lose, it's someone else's fault. We gotta take responsibility in these elections and say, you know what? We have to put our trust in these elected officials. We also have to put it in these judges, because the judges are the ones that are responsible. Thank you.
Jeremy Pakula, County Commissioner candidate. Now, I agree, I don't believe anybody in this county has violated any election laws or practices or any processes. I think we have tremendous election judges. In fact, I was an election judge in this past primary to gain my own experience and perspective. The problem we have in this state is that all 87 counties have given away their authority of their elections to the Secretary of State's office. Now, the person that brought the question forward is, when you go through the process to go and validate an election, you have to get permission from him to get access to your ballots and your data. How are you supposed to validate that any of your results are ever true, accurate, and 100% transparent? when there's one person that holds the keys to your elections, and it's Steve Simon. The county commissioners need to take back our elections. There is no way to track how your vote is cast once you put it in that envelope and mail it in, or you put it into that tabulating machine. There is no process. Machines are computer programs. Let's be clear. Otherwise, they'd just be a box. These machines need to be removed from the system. So at the end of the day, whether it takes us 3 days to count it, or it takes 4. But we know at the end of the day, when our election results are certified and sent to the Secretary of State, they are right. And we won't be having this debate 2 years later. Thank you.
I agree with Randy, and a great part of it, the judges that we have to have faith in our judges in Morrison County. And we have some here with us today. And many of you have volunteered to be election judges. We have had the discrepancy and the concern, like Randy said, for 2, 4, 10 years. And I think maybe because it is as important as it is, we need to take a serious look at this. How do we keep everything verified in the way that will make everyone happy? Because we know we can't do that. Like Randy's mother, many of my relatives only vote by mail because they don't have a polling booth anymore. It's not existent. So if we didn't do mail, they don't know, they'd have to go to the county seat to go vote. So mail allows elderly and people with disabilities to vote. And I know a lot of people are really concerned about mail-in votes. I also really question the voter ID because I don't know if that will solve all the things that we wanted to solve. I think we have to have a better, more firm idea about how are we going to approach this. Everybody has their own idea of what we can do to make the voter fraud better. So when I looked at the voter fraud in Minnesota, there was 5 people that they thought were committing voter fraud. 5 people who voted for Republicans. 3 of those people had died. And it's not unimaginable for you to vote in October and then die before the election. So I think the whole thing needs to be looked at quite seriously, and I will support it.
Well, I do think that we need voter ID. We need IDs for everything else in the world, but not voting. Voting is very, very, needs to be secure. As a matter of fact, the Democrats even had voter ID at their convention in the spring. So they had voter ID to get into their convention, but we don't need it to vote. Tell me how that works. We need voter ID, we need to clean our voter rolls. We never clean our voter rolls, so there aren't dead people that show up on voting. Like, guy died in 1979, he voted. Door knocked thousands and thousands of people this summer, talked to people. I found in multiple spots, there were up to 12 registered voters at a house. So 12 people were registered to vote at this house. This guy was 92 years old, he lived there for 55 years. So he and his wife lived there alone, and 10 other people are registered to vote at that house. I found this multiple times. I've already passed this on to our Secretary of State, Kim Crockett, to look into this. This is being looked into. This is real, it's not fake. We can't vouch, you can vouch for 7 people. Anyone in here can take any 7 people here, no voter ID, and bring them into the vote. It's not, that's the truth. I can grab you, let's go vote. So you're buying votes. Stopping mail-in voting. We have absentee voting. We can still mail in vote by absentee. So if you're elderly and you can't make it to vote, you can request, that's called an absentee ballot. Or vote, whatever. We need to stop mail-in voting. They send you a ballot, and then how do you know who signed it and sent it back? So if you can't make it, you can get an absentee ballot, and you don't have to go in, but we need to stop the mail-in voting because that is corrupt. I went and talked saw Tulsi Gabbard on Saturday, and if people don't know, she just left the Democratic Party, and she has very high levels of security in our government. She said, quote, this is what she said, "Our election was stolen in 2020 because the government lied to us."
Yep. Amen.
So I want to start by saying that, number one, this is a very engaged group of people who care deeply about our community, and that's seen in who our election judges are. And the great part is, I think we all know them. They're our friends and neighbors, which is the best example of government. A government that is super local, right? Where it's super accountable to the people. And so I applaud those of you in the room who are election judges, no matter your political stripes. Thank you for being involved as election judges. Local control is so important. And so in the district that I'm seeking to represent, there's largely rural, right? And there's over 10 precincts that vote by mail. I do have concerns about that, not because of election judges, and not because of our county administering those elections. I have concerns about it because of the Postal Service today. And that's my concern. And I want to make sure that our votes here, that they count. And so we need voter ID, I fully agree with that. But we also need the Minnesota Election Integrity Act. And I really encourage each and every one of you to take a look at that, because it's not only voter ID, but the other thing that we need to clamp down on, and Steve Simon broke the law in 2020 when he mailed live ballots to people who didn't request them. It's against the law. Okay? And so he actually lost a Supreme Court case over that. And I want any one of you, if you receive a live ballot in this election cycle that you didn't request, you need to hold on to that ballot and not destroy it. And we need to use that as evidence, because that is breaking the law. That is breaking state law. So election day needs to be election day, and further than that, let's institute provisional balloting for those who register on election day, so that their votes go into a separate pile. We can verify who they are, and then their vote can count. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much for the candidates. There was a lot of people talking about involvement tonight in various ways in their answers and their statements they made. But I want to thank these, is it nine? I think there's 9 up there now, for your involvement by running for office. I appreciate that. I'm sure these folks appreciate it. So I think we need to give the candidates a little round of applause for being here. We don't have to do a lot of cleaning. I can't tell if there's a dumpster or a garbage can someplace. I can't see in front. If there's not, maybe we get outside by the drinking fountain. Okay, so we could have somebody get that in here. We'll do that so they're ready for breakfast tomorrow. No more questions? Yes.
Point of order. Point of order.
Yes.
Did you give the 2-minute wrap up for everybody?
No, we're not.
You're gonna do it though?
Yeah, of course we are.
Okay. I'm talking about cleanup, and I'm worried about those cookies leaving to it.
Okay. Okay, this is the order, and I'll give everybody a little bit of a chance to, the reason I did the cleanup beforehand is I want them to all have an opportunity to get their thoughts together, and they each have 2 minutes, so this is the order